What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing two of the most common and dominant flying type Pokemon over the years in the Go Battle League in the form of Altaria and Talonflame, except instead of running their recommended fast moves of Dragon Breath and Incinerate, I'm going to be trying them both out with the fast move of Peck, a previously completely useless fast move, but of course is now a Shadow Claw clone. Now don't get me wrong, Dragon Breath and Incinerate are still better fast moves, but Peck offers different and likely unexpected coverage that might throw a lot of trainers off. Obviously this team is really weak to rock types like Bastiodon and Carbink, so I'm running probably the best Mud Slapper that no one else uses, Shadow Donphan, in the lead, which of course did also get a slight buff this season, with Body Slam now dealing slightly more damage. Now before we get into the question of the day, this weekend is the Go Battle weekend, so of course I'll be hosting the Battle of Spice, and you'll be able to submit a battle in the Great League, Ultra League, and Master League, but I'll also be trialing a new Classic Edition for the Great League, where XL Pokemon are banned. More specifically, you'll only be able to use Pokemon that at level 40 can exceed 1500 CP. I have made a community post about this already, but you can visit a link in the description and in the pinned comment to find out more about the competition and submit your entries. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which Pokemon do you think has the best alternative fast move option that never sees any play because its recommended fast move is just so good? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battling Shadow Donphan into Pangor. Of course, I've got two flying type Pokemon with actual flying type fast moves. I'm going to say swap into Altaria, and unfortunately, this is where Altaria is going to be held slightly back up against other dragon type Pokemon. It is now going to struggle as we are taking super effective damage from those Dragon Breaths, but only dealing neutral damage with the Pecks and the Sky Attacks. However, I can reach a second Sky Attack before Goodra does fully farm us down. Sky Attack gets them very low to the point where actually just a single Mud Slap probably gets the KO. At this point, I'm going to no-shield my Donphan. Octel is going to hit for super effective damage, but I'm going to save both shields for my Shadow Talonflame. They come in with a Turtonator, a Pokemon that would double resist the Incinerate damage, but Peck hitting for neutral. Brave Bird gets the one shot there, and at this point, the opponent still has a shield, but it doesn't really matter. They've got a ton of energy. I can just double shield. The opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do, so they just concede the match. So there was an interesting game where obviously having Peck on Altaria was slightly costly, but actually Peck on Talonflame was very beneficial. Into the next battle, the opponent leading with Empoleon, say swapping into an Amoonguss, Shadow Amoonguss as well. Here, both Peck and Incinerate would hit for super effective damage. We get the farm down regardless, and we have so much energy, so I am once again full sending the Brave Bird here. Brave Bird is not respected. It nearly gets the one shot. We actually get the farm down and come out with a Flame Charge loaded. And this game is so over. We grab the first shield, we swap into our Shadow Donphan, and yes, they do already have a Hydro Cannon, but I don't really care. I'm going to go for one Mud Slap. I could go for back-to-back Body Slams here, but you know what? Let's make this game faster. We go for Trailblaze, they no shield, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there, into the next battle, we see Shadow Donphan into a Shadow Scizor. Now, this is a matchup where, of course, if we had Incinerate on Talonflame, just two fast moves would get a full farm down. But I'm going to shield my Donphan, I'm then going to swap straight away into Altaria, and the opponent actually swaps out into a Gastrodon, so that's fine with me, of course. Altaria is going to double resist the Mud Slap damage, Body Slam going to hit for neutral. Both Peck and Dragon Breath deal the same damage technically per turn. However, Dragon Breath being a one-turn fast move means often it will hit slightly harder, but either way, doesn't really matter. Still a very dominant matchup for the Altaria. I'm going to look to overfarm here. We've already grabbed a shield advantage, going for Sky Attack, number 2, and we actually grab both shields from the opponent. They swap back into Scizor. We come in, we still get the farm down with the Shadow Talonflame. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Dragon Breath Giratina, but once again, the Peck damage is going to put them into range, where a single Brave Bird gets the one shot. They come back in with the Gastrodon. I could shield here and go for another Brave Bird, but it doesn't really matter. Donphan has a Trailblaze. I believe Altaria also has a Sky Attack. We're loaded on every single Pokemon. Trailblaze gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there, into the next battle, Shadow Donphan into Corviknight. So, of course, not a great matchup for me. I'm actually going to stay in initially, though, and then I'm going to swap into Altaria, able to catch an Air Cutter. I mean, I wasn't necessarily aiming to catch the Charge Move there, but either way, we can get some energy there. We are going to see the opponent's going to swap and completely hard counter me with a Carbink. Of course, Altaria has nothing to throw here if I'm not running Fairy coverage, so Sky Attack is going to be no-shielded. It really does not do much damage. Peck is single-resisted rather than being double-resisted like Dragon Breath. It doesn't really make a difference there. I think Peck may be doing 2 damage, whereas Dragon Breath would do 1, so pretty much the same damage there. Anyways, they go for Moonblast. I actually no-shield that, hoping that that will also mean they're going to no-shield a Trailblaze, and I can get rid of the Carbink, and hopefully Talonflame can sweep in the end game. Now they come in with their own weird spicy Peck user in the form of a Sea King. However, my Peck is Stab. We go straight for Flame Charge, of course, expecting a shield, as they are now going to go for an Icy Wind. Icy Wind is going to debuff my attack once again back down to the regular attack stat, and here I don't know if Flame Charge would have got the KO. So instead, what I'm going to do, shield the Icy Wind. I'm now going to look to overfarm, farming to 100, swapping, catching the charge move here, and now we've got a very difficult decision. Do they swap out straight away? I'm calling that they do, and I go for Flame Charge, and if the opponent hasn't clicked on the charge move yet, I would win CMP, but unfortunately, they did throw it immediately there, and of course, that means Air Cutter gets the KO, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's top home there into the next battle. We're going to see a Corviknight in the lead once again. So this time I'm actually going to swap out straight away into Altaria, and I'm met with a Credilli. Now they're on Bullet Seed, so actually the fast move damage isn't going to add up enough to put me into range where a single Rock Tomb will get the KO, which is quite convenient for me. We do grab a shield there with that Sky Attack. They now fire off the Rock Tomb, and they are never going to farm me down. And even if I do like somehow manage to flip this matchup here, Corviknight also massively going to struggle to farm me down, as they also have double resisted fast move damage. So at this point, I'm going to let the move go through here. Rock Tomb gets the KO. We're going to take that shield advantage, and I'm going to come back in with my Shadow Donphan. Now, Donphan doesn't really have much play into the Corviknight, so I'm hoping they bait here. Either way, I'm going to no-shield regardless, and Grass Knot gets the one-shot, but now we've got a 2-shield. Peck, Shadow Talonflame. They're going to come in with a Cast Form, which of course has double super effective Rock Weather Ball, but I can just safely shield these up here. They're not going to be that threatening when, of course, I can still have 2 shields in play, so we shield the first one. We fire off the Flame Charge. They swap back into Corviknight, and I definitely do not need to shield here. This is just going to be an Air Cutter. Air Cutter doesn't do too much damage. I'm now going to look to overfarm, and I'm already boosted in my attack stat. Flame Charge gets the one shot there. They come back in with the Cast Form. I can just very safely shield this up, and because you know what, since we can just go straight for a Brave Bird, I'm full sending it. This is massive overkill, but Brave Bird gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top home there, and by the way, I actually wasn't running Brave Bird because I wanted to. I just ran out of charge DMs. I had 1 left, and I was like, you know what, I am guaranteed to get Fire Blast if I use that final charge DM, so I just stuck with that Brave Bird there, but of course, it did work out quite well for me, as we had so many booms with that Shadow Talonflame. But anyways, into this battle, we led into a bit of an awkward situation here. Of course, we led into that shiny Shadow Salamence, which is a cool flex, but a very big core breaker to the team, since Altaria is not on Dragon Breath. Here, we grab a shield back from the Corviknight. We come in, and we can't quite muds that farming down before they reach an Air Cutter, but Air Cutter not going to deal too much damage. We've now already got a Body Slam loaded, so I'm going to fire this off straight away. Believe they're 1 away from the next charge move, and they are going to throw straight away. Now, I don't know what they've got in the back here. I'm actually going to shield this, and I will just throw that Body Slam immediately, looking to get rid of the shiny Shadow Salamence. And what's their final Pokemon? It's going to be Credilli. Now here, I'm going to bank a Body Slam, swap into my Altaria, and we've seen already Altaria can just barely tank a Rock Tomb. So, of course, I will no shield. Well, I mean, I have no shields anyways. We get to a Sky Attack. We actually win CMP here, but we are debuffed, and I don't think that's quite in range where a non-stab Body Slam from my Shadow Donphan will get the KO. Of course, it does more damage this season, but Body Slam doesn't take out the Credilli there, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We see an opposing Shadow Talonflame. So swapping into Altaria, they're going to come in with a Furret, and this might be the team that Dan Auto showcased recently with Gastrodon in the back. So at this point, I'm going to no-shield the first move here. I'm going to fire off a Sky Attack just before they reach Swift number 2. Sky Attack is going to get them fairly low, but actually, I don't really plan on shielding. Instead, I'm going to let the move take us out here. Swift gets the KO. I can come in with the Shadow Donphan, and they did overfire a little bit, but they're still not going to reach another charge move. So we get the Mud Sap farm down. The opponent's going to come in with the Gastrodon. I'm actually swapping into Talonflame. They come back in with the Talonflame, and I make a huge mistake here. I tried to throw on CMP. The opponent doesn't throw straight away, and as a result, the opponent gets a full Incinerate in for free. Massive mistake on my end. They also fire off a Flame Charge, but I can reach the next charge move straight away. Flame Charge number 2. Gonna grab the final shield, and I believe Gastrodon does have some energy. I'm not certain I could go for a full Peck farm down, so I'm actually gonna no-shield that, recognizing that I've got Trailblaze on my Shadow Donphan, so I can just safely shield up the charge move there. They go for a Body Slam bait. Doesn't really make a difference. I'm going for Trailblaze, boosting up my attack stat, getting the one-shot, and also outpacing the Talonflame to the next Body Slam. So despite the fact that I threw on alignment up against an opposing Talonflame on Incinerate, I'm still able to take that game. But of course, if I did throw on better timing there, I think that would have been a very comfortable sweep for my Shadow Talonflame. But into the next battle, gonna see a Greedent in the lead here. I'm gonna swap out, hoping to catch a Trailblaze onto my Altaria, and the opponent does go for Trailblaze, of course. That's double resisted. It boosts up their attack there, so whatever they throw now is gonna deal more damage, but it is just a crunch. Crunch does decent damage there, but that's fine with me. Now they swap, they try to catch a Sky Attack onto Corviknight, but it does not work out for them. Flamethrower, gonna connect. It does big damage, and I can reach a second Flamethrower before Corviknight throws any energy. We grab the shield there. The opponent gonna have to full send a payback. Air Cutter, I don't think will cut it in this matchup, and so they do full send there, but now we can come back in with the Shadow Donphan. Gonna overfarm just slightly, fire off the Body Slam. Body Slam gets the KO there. They're gonna come back in with the Greedent, and I am gonna shield. I'm hoping I can Mud Sap farm them all the way down. It will be very close, but unfortunately just barely not able to do so. But I'm going to go for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze, gotta be no-shielded. And their final Pokemon, a Shadow Nidoqueen. I don't even need Talonflame for this battle, as boosted Mud Saps get the KO there. We get a simultaneous KO, but we still had a full health Pokemon in the back, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. I'm going to see the opponent safe swapping into Talonflame. I'm going to come in with my own Talonflame, assuming this probably should be a good matchup for me, since I do have neutral damage with those Pecks. However, Incinerates, of course, do add up quite a lot, and even though they're resisted, they deal more damage than Pecks, so it's actually pretty close, and probably closer than you might expect. At this point, I'm hoping I can go for a full farm down, but actually, it doesn't look like I will get that farm down, so I'm forced to throw. The opponent, if they want to, they could double shield, flip switch advantage, but they don't. Instead, they're going to take a shield advantage. We get to another Flame Charge here. Flame Charge going to do huge damage. I didn't want to be fully farmed down, so I swap into Donphan, but they've got a Togekiss in the back. So at this point, going to go for Body Slam. Body Slam, going to be no shield. We've got a second one already loaded, so we throw back-to-back straight away here, not allowing them to go for one Peck and then throwing a charge move. Here, they will still need to throw a move here, so the opponent goes for Aura Sphere. Of course, I'm going to have to come in with Altaria. Hopefully, they don't have Dazzling Gleam, but of course, I don't know. The opponent is going to fire off the charge move. The opponent goes for Ancient Power there, which is definitely not ideal for my Altaria. They're also at a lot of energy on Stunfisk, so I overfarm. I bank the charge move there. Was that the right play? Maybe Altaria wins CMP up against the Stunfisk. I actually don't know, so let me know in the comments. Potentially with the Altaria IVs that I've got, maybe it's not even that close. And here, maybe if I just threw the charge straight away, instead of sacrificing Talonflame, maybe I could have just Pecked farmed down the Togekiss in the back. But unfortunately, we do get farmed down ourselves, and we lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Furret in the lead. I swap out after 4 Mud Slaps and waiting one turn to catch a double resisted Trailblaze. But unfortunately, that catch doesn't really help me as they come in. They hard punish with a Frost Sash. We go for Flamethrower. Flamethrower does grab a shield, but they can commit to a very aggressive Powder Snow farm down. Actually, coming out with 2 Avalanches, or if they are running the... What's the triple axle, the other ice type move there? Either way, they're going to throw back-to-back straight away. I realize that's probably what they're going to do. So I actually go for the back-to-back Mud Slaps, sneaking in each time. So that actually gets me a ton of energy. The opponent's going to swap back into Fire. We bait with a Body Slam. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really matter which order I threw there, because Trailblaze doesn't quite get the KO, but it boosts up my attack stat. And their final Pokemon is a Clodsire. Now, we still have a win condition here. I'm throwing straight away, as of course the opponent would outpace phase me if I opt for one extra Mud Slap. We get them very low, but unfortunately, I believe this switch clock will be coming up here. So we come in with the Talonflame. If I had Incinerate, we get the full farm down here, but unfortunately, Peck just neutral damage. The opponent full sends the Avalanche, but we just barely hang on there. And whilst it would have been a very comfortable win for me if I had Incinerate, Peck still gets the win there as we reach a Brave Bird, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Dusclops in the lead. So, I'm going to stay in this matchup initially here. If they farm up to an Ice Punch here, then of course, it's going to hit for super effective. But they don't. They go straight for a Shadow Punch. And 2 Shadow Punch, it looks like, will get the KO. So, now I'm actually going to swap into Altaria and catch the next Charge Reef. This is going to be very awkward if they went for Ice Punch here. But they don't. However, what they do is they come in with a Bastiodon. I needed to bait this Pokemon out. So, I guess I still need to swap into my Altaria there. But of course, definitely not ideal to see. Now here, I tried to throw another Charge Reef. Unfortunately, we don't get damage registration error, but either way, we come in with the Shadow Donphan, and what I didn't want to do is throw a Charge Reef here and then allow the opponent to have their Switch Shot come up and then swap out of this matchup. So I throw as late as possible, but actually, we don't quite get the farm down here. So now, I'm forced to use my final shield, and we're not in a great position, especially since they come in with Azumarill. Now, I am boosted. I'm going for Trailblaze. Trailblaze grabs a shield. I was hoping I had a Body Slam loaded as well, but unfortunately, that is not the case. So I swap into Talonflame. The opponent does not have access to Hydro Pump here, and I am going to full send a Brave Bird, but unfortunately, this is too little, too late for me. Brave Bird actually doesn't get the KO still. They get the farm down. They come out with an Ice Beam loaded, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. However, of course, if I went for Trailblaze straight away up against the Bastiodon, and they allowed a full farm down, I think potentially I could have won that game. But GG's to the trainer into the next battle. We can see Firo in the lead. So, of course, not a great matchup for me. I say swap into Altaria, and the opponent responds with a Sizzle. Now, this is fine with me. Flamethrower, definitely going to grab a shield there. Even Sky Attack probably grabs a shield regardless. But now, at this point, I think I will just let Altaria go down. They go for Night Slash there. They are not going to get a boost. And yes, of course, one single Incinerate would get the farm down. But we can come in, and we can start to load up on energy. I'm going to shield once. They will not reach back-to-back Night Slashes. So, the first one doesn't get any boost once again. We get the full farm down. They come in with a Firo, and I'm going straight for Flame Charge. Flame Charge does big damage. The opponent is going to let that go. They do reach a Drill Peck, which I'm going to shield, and their final Pokemon is a Gastrodon. So here, a little bit awkward for me, but I'm hoping if I can catch a Water Pulse, maybe I've got a chance here. So I swap out. I tried to catch, but it backfires as the opponent overfarms here. The opponent still going to full send the Water Pulse, but they now have less energy, and we're actually able to reach a last-second Flame Charge. Flame Charge is resisted, but it still gets the KO. And since I'm boosted, a single Peck takes out the Firo there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Pangoro in the lead. We're going to be safe swapping into Altaria, and unfortunately, going to be hard punished by a Dedenne. Now, of course, both Peck and Dragon Breath are resisted. Peck just single resisted, so they do kind of add up there with that flamethrower damage. The opponent has to full send a Play Rough, which they do, but that's fine with me. We can come in with the Shadow Donphan, and unfortunately, not going to get a massive farm down here. Only 2 Mud Slaps, but that's okay with me. They're going to come in with a Togekiss, so I'm swapping into my Talonflame here, as of course, Mud Slaps are double resisted. Honestly, would prefer the Donphan into the Pangoro. They are going to grab the shield there, and we actually lose CMP, which I didn't realize, so I'm going to double shield this. Of course, if Pangoro has access to Rock Slide, it's game over right now, but we go for Flame Charge, boost up our attack stat, they swap back into Pangoro, but if the opponent doesn't have Rock Slide, they go for Night Slash, we barely hang on, and we bank a Charge Reef as well. So here, the opponent goes for another Night Slash, we can get the Mud Slap farm down, and now the opponent cannot commit to a full farm down before I reach back-to-back Charge Reefs on the Donphan. So Body Slam grabs the final shield. The opponent once again winning CMP with that Togekiss, but it doesn't matter unless they're at back-to-back charge moves. We've got the Flame Charge loaded, and of course, from this range, Flame Charge takes out the Togekiss, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. We can see Shadow Donphan into Firo once again. So once again, going to be safe swapping into Altaria, and unfortunately met with an Alolan Sand Slash. So I can grab a shield advantage here, but honestly, like, this is still awful for me. They're going to go for a full Powder Snow farm down, and they've got so much loaded energy. So at this point, once again, I'm going to come in with the Donphan. Of course, if I had Incinerate on my Talonflame, I could come in, fully Incinerate, farm them down, but unfortunately, that is not an option for me. So I'm going to swap out, catch the Charge Reef here, and unfortunately still not in a great position. They farm up to back-to-back Ice Punches. I will have to shield here, and I'm going to shield, but the opponent comes in, and the opponent will be able to go for a full Astonish farm down with Dust Noir, and unfortunately, there's nothing I can do there, so I do just concede the match. But GG's to that trainer into the next battle. We're going to see Dunsparce in the lead, so this is a positive matchup for me, as I am resisting the fast move damage. Drillrun's still going to do quite a lot of damage here. I'm not certain if, by the time I throw the Trailblaze, if it would get the KO from that range, so instead, I'm actually just going to preserve the energy. The opponent going to go for a second Drill Run there, then swapping into a Dusclops. So at this point, I'm going to fire off the Trailblaze. First one does not get shielded, but the second one going to deal even more damage here. It does grab a shield. I'm now swapping into Talonflame, as of course, Altaria will not be appreciating an Ice Punch. Now they farm to the Poltergeist, and they full send it. So of course, going to use my final shield. I'm now going to fire off a Flame Charge. Flame Charge, going to boost up my attack stat. They are going to no shield. Now here, honestly, I could have committed to a farm down. I couldn't quite remember if they overfarmed at all with the Dunsparce, but it doesn't really matter. They've got Florges in the back. I'm going to swap out. I tried to catch a Chilling Water, but Florges are very unlikely to be running Moonblast nowadays, likely on Trailblaze and Chilling Water, both of which are resisted. Trailblaze actually double resisted there, but of course it does boost up the attack for those Fairy Winds, but either way, still a very comfortable matchup for me as the opponent once again goes for Trailblaze there, forced to throw yet another charge attack, but at this point, we've put them into range where maybe one or two Pecks will get the farm down with my Talonflame, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. You can see Talonflame in the lead once again. So once again, safe swapping into Altaria, and the opponent going to choose to stay in initially before coming in with a Wigglytuff. Now with Peck, this actually isn't that bad of a matchup as we go for Sky Attack. Sky Attack deals decent damage there, and then now forced to throw a charge move as the Peck damage has put them into range where a second Sky Attack would certainly get the KO. Now I'm going to come in with the Shadow Donphan, hoping for Mud Slaps, gets the farm down, and it does exactly that. Now I'm going to swap out straight away if they come back in with the Talonflame, and they do. At this point, definitely going to shield this, as I don't know what's in the back. The opponent going to full send a Brave Bird before coming in with a Shadow Kanto Marowak. So we still have play here. We're going to go for Flame Charge, boosting up the attack stat. The opponent is going to farm up to a Rock Slide, very likely going to bait with a Bone Club, and they do exactly that. But I can now overfarm, fire off a Flame Charge. They now have the energy for a Rock Slide, so I swap out into Donphan. I'm able to catch the Charge Reef here. And at this point, I'm going to overfarm. I'm going to go for Trailblaze, of course, boosting up my attack stat. But is this going to allow me to get the KO with the Body Slam, with the Mud Slap damage? It's going to be very close here. We go for 2 Mud Slaps. Body Slam doesn't quite get the KO there, and they actually get the perfect farm down, coming out with the Fly loaded. Fly takes out my Talonflame, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG's up in there into the next battle. We're going to see a Charger Bug in the lead. Finally, matchup for me. The opponent safe swaps into Ferrothorn. I'm swapping out. I'm catching a double resisted Power Whip onto my Shadow Talonflame, which is ideal for me, of course. Since I've not got Incinerate, I can't just commit to a full farm down here. So, we're going to go for the Flame Charge just before they reach a Thunder. And Flame Charge actually going to be shielded by the opponent. I'm going to shield here, and they do full send the Thunder. So, honestly, that should not allow them to reach another Thunder. There should be one energy away from a second Thunder, but I shield anyways just in case. I wasn't sure on the counts there. Either way, it doesn't really matter as I am boosted. I've got so much energy. If they come back in with the Charger Bug, Flame Charge, nearly one shots. We get the full farm down. Their final Pokemon is going to be Greninja, and of course, I am already double boosted. Brave Bird grabs the final shield. I can now just safely come in with the Altaria, and the opponent is going to be going straight for a Night Slash. Night Slash, no boost. Even if they get the boost there, I probably just barely tank the next Night Slash anyways, but they don't get the boost. I can now go for 1 Peck, throw a Sky Attack on good timing. Doesn't really make a difference here. Sky Attack would have got the KO, so the opponent just concedes the match. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You see Donphan into Raichu. So this is a great lead matchup for me. The opponent safe swaps into Altaria. And unfortunately, I don't really have a good response here because my Altaria is not on Dragon Breath. So I actually swap into my Talonflame. Also recognizing Talonflame is going to struggle up against the Raichu. Now here, I'm going to shield the Sky Attack. I'm going to go for a Flame Charge, but my Switch Clock is now misaligned to theirs. So Flame Charge grabs the shield from the opponent. I kind of have to shield here, but because we're so misaligned, the opponent can come back in with the Raichu, force a CMP tie, and win CMP in this matchup. Then the opponent is forced to full send a Wild Charge there, which means they debuff their defense. We can come in, get the full Mud Slap farm down, but it just depends what they've got in the back. The opponent's going to come back in with the Altaria. I'm hoping I can just barely reach back-to-back Body Slams. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. So Body Slam number 1 grabs the final shield. I was trying to swap out there, catch the charge view, but unfortunately, they barely outpaced me. We come in with the Altaria, and they've actually got Blastoise in the back. So unfortunately, Altaria won't be able to win this game here. Sky Attack is going to do decent damage there, but the opponent, even if they don't have Ice Beam, Skull Bash is going to do huge damage in this matchup. It also boosts up the defense there, meaning they get the roll-up farm down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the final battle of this video, leading into our Primate. So this is a fine neutral matchup here. I'm not going to swap out straight away into my Altaria, just because, of course, they could have access to Ice Punch. Now, they go straight for Rage Fist, which is fine with me. I'm going to fire off one Mud Slap, go for Body Slam. Body Slam, gotta be shielded. I then swap. I wait one turn, though, just to make sure the opponent does throw here. And they go for a Rage Fist, which is very nice for me. Now, they actually come in with a Kanto Marowak, which is a very questionable decision, but I'm going straight for Sky Attack here. Sky Attack not going to be shielded as they can tank it. At this point, I'm just going to let Altaria go down. Rock Slide gets the KO there, but I can come in with either Pokemon. I'm actually going to come in with my Shadow Talonflame, avoid taking much damage from those Mud Slaps, get the full farm down, and they're going to have a Galarian Moltres. Now, I overfarm, I wait one turn, but I still end up throwing the charge loop. Anyways, I don't know about you guys, but I have a really bad habit of waiting a turn, but then still committing to throwing the charge loop anyway. So, like, I don't even know what the point is there. I should be waiting the turn and then reacting based on whether they swap out or not. But either way, we should still be fine here. The opponent not going to reach back-to-back charge moves. So, Donphan able to reach the Body Slam. Body Slam gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.